It works. All right. Were you in frame? I think.
Yeah, I think I was in. Yeah.
Good.
I'm here.
Okay, cool.
I am here.
I am here. It's very existential.
Yeah,
You're
right.
here so we can get started. All right. Now, this is the part where I pretend to be professional. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another MerlinCast. Very impromptu. Got Cyborg back once again.
Yeah, I'm back already.
Already, and I was not trying to pull you back, man, but
Right.
you were eager. You were just trying to tell me all this stuff like you had a new perspective, which somehow the last podcast, I don't know how I missed it, but you were the one that was like, oh yeah, there's hope for the DCEU. What are you talking about, man? And then you revealed something.
Yeah, I did have hope, even though at the time I hadn't seen Justice League.
There it is.
So, while I would say it's more optimism than hope at this point. I would say I'm more optimistic than most, but I can see why people who have lost faith after that. Because I feel like, and I was talking to Joe about this, that in the beginning of the MCU and when there was talks of a DCEU, me and my friends were saying, like, because when the talks came out about Justice League coming out without them doing all the solo movies of the members,
Yeah.
and we were saying, like, okay, I kind of see that because they have the more recognizable superheroes to do that, to just come out with a Justice League movie, and then on the back end do a solo movie, and it'll be different than Marvel. They want to be different because I guess they wanted to minimize the backlash of saying, oh, you're just copying Marvel.
Definitely.
So at the time I saw that. But after watching Justice League, and I'm remembering and comparing it to the first Avengers, because that was the first team up within Marvel.
So embarrassing.
I realized that you need to do it. They should have took the hit from people saying that they're like Marvel and set it up right, because you need these solo movies to build up. Not only are you building up the characters, you're building up this universe, and whether people realize it or not. I didn't realize it until I watched Justice League. You're building up that anticipation.
Yeah.
Because you know that. Because we knew when Iron Man and Captain America and Thor were coming, Avengers was coming.
Definitely.
Even before they released the date, we knew it was coming. So you're building that anticipation. When you just have it, it loses the weight. Like, it loses the weight, even the gravity of the situation. Like, oh wow, it's Batman, it's Superman, it's Wonder Woman, it's Cyborg, and Flash. I mean, you get that initially, but then that's over quickly, more quick than. Why am I drawing a blank right now? Avengers, right?
Just the other bit.
Yeah, more so than Avengers, because it's like I've been watching movies with them in their solo adventures, so to speak, for years now, and it's like, wow, it's finally all in the same movie. You don't get that payoff here. Even which brought into perspective Spider-Man, because although he wasn't in the MCU, we've been watching Spider-Man solo for years. And then he's just his little part in Civil War where everybody's like, oh, this is awesome. So I have come to know that you need these solo projects first to build that the depth of the characters, because it's only, especially with team of movies, there's only so much you can go into depth with the characters.
Definitely.
Because you have to handle this threat that's world ending. So that's why I've come to realize
you wanted to recount it, and I'm glad you said that, because that made more sense to me, because I think it's just as somebody that, I know you said you were a big DC fan, and it's just like, for me, and I've said this on my channel a lot, but really just for me, the idea of having a Justice League movie, it really should have been on Avengers caliber. Like, those are the classic heroes together, and you've even said they shouldn't have had to try that hard, with the brands. So, even if they did make movies, they don't have to go too hard into the backstories. Most of those characters are kind of defined by their powers anyway.
Yeah.
Just kind of add their personality traits into that.
Right.
So in a way it should be easier.
Yeah. I feel like even maybe they didn't have to go as deep as Marvel, like with this 3 movie setup, 3 solo movie, then Avengers for everybody. They could have did one.
And be fine.
Yeah, because like I said, they're more recognizable than Iron Man at the time, and then Iron Man
All right.
or
Well, here's a theory for you, because maybe they were like, okay, they wanted to try to capture the bubble, to some extent, but
Right.
still follow that format. How about take it in slightly bigger steps? Maybe they wouldn't have to do a solo movie for every single Justice League member, because that might take 5, 6 years, whatever. But how about this? What if they, because you suggested maybe using Flashpoint as in the reboot for the movies, which at this point I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Why not just try to reestablish the main three? Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, new versions of those characters. They should have done that, and then maybe do a Justice League movie from that point. Do you think that would have been acceptable? Or would that still be not enough? There are too many characters.
I think that would have worked at least. Yeah, especially with Batfleck, as they call him. Because people want it. I don't even, and that's the thing. Lack of planning on, I don't know, if it's DC or Warner Brothers.
Both, probably.
Yeah, lack of planning. They didn't even plan to have a solo Batman movie with him. The response was just so great from Batman versus Superman. People hated the movie, but they loved
Batman.
Ben Affleck's portrayal.
Definitely.
They're like, okay, well, we're doing this solo movie. Let's do it.
They don't have enough faith in their products from the get-go.
Because if you look at it in comparison, Marvel is like, this is what we're doing. This is the rollout. This is how it is. The only thing
The whole plan.
they deviated was probably Inhumans.
Well, it proves that not everything is a masterpiece.
Yeah. They do make some changes.
Yeah. But they adjust and they put it on the table and they bounce back,
Right.
They have so many good hits. I think it's just kind of fascinating, honestly, that it's gotten to this point.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think it would be this big of a gap in terms of success between the MCU and the DCEU. I didn't think it would be that much of a gap. Like, I expected some because the MCU is too far ahead.
Time.
Yeah. But I figured that it would get rolling. Like, DC would get rolling more. It's like, but they keep doing it. It's more and more missteps and confusion.
Well, this is the weird thing, I think, is that in a way DC kind of was riding the superhero boom because Iron Man came out the same year as The Dark Knight. So superheroes for a while then were kind of on the upswing.
Right.
But they were just, okay, well, it's really weird because DC, for like decades beforehand, was the only force for movies that were superheroes. You had, of course, the Superman films, which were big, Christopher Reeve, and the Michael Keaton Batman movies.
That's true.
Which kind of went a weird direction when Schumacher took over.
Yeah.
But still, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, mostly DC. And then you had Batman and Robin, which everyone hated. You know about that.
Yeah.
And then there was that weird gap. Superhero movies kind of became a thing. Spider-Man came, and all those other movies. Batman Begins came out in 2005, and it was still kind of a weird time. Then it hit with The Dark Knight right when Iron Man came out, and then there was another gap where there were all these Marvel movies, and that was the beginning of the build-up to the Avengers. And then right around that time, Dark Knight Rises came out, which, divisive as it was, ended the Batman property.
Yeah.
And he was their sole moneymaker, was just Batman. And then they did Man of Steel, which I liked.
I liked it. I'll say overall, I didn't hate it as much as other people.
We could talk about that
Yeah,
in detail, I'm sure. But my point is that they had Man of Steel, which could have been the beginning of that universe, which I don't think they planned on at that time.
I don't think so either.
They just maybe we could use this as something.
We'll see how it goes, because I think even with Return of Superman, that was a flop for them. So I think that maybe they were
Superman Returns, yeah.
Maybe they were just feeling
unsure.
Yeah, unsure.
The weird thing is their movies still do well, but they never do as well as they want them to.
Right.
and that's true because they've been kind of not sure about, once again, the faith. Like Superman Returns, they went back and just basically did a continuation of the movies from back in the 70s and 80s. Like they're afraid to deviate. They want to give people what they want, but you see, Marvel had the advantage of, like we said, taking characters like, no offense, guys, Iron Man, Thor, Cap, were not A-listers.
No.
They took a risk. They had faith, put a lot of time, money into it, and it's been paying off.
Yeah.
But Man of Steel came out, and then it's like we're making it up as we go. 3 years before Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which is throwing all this stuff in there, and then we get Justice League is basically the build-up from that.
So
the foundation's been rocky from the beginning. That might be the problem.
I think so. Because it's been indecision from the beginning.
Yeah.
So riddle me this. Is
Riddle me this.
Is Batman vs Superman, is that official Man of Steel 2, or that was just something?
Yes. It is the same universe. It is a direct sequel because it obviously talks about the events,
From the first one.
the Zod fight. So yes, it is a sequel. That was the problem, man. It's a sequel to Man of Steel, and it's also a new Batman movie, and it's also a prequel to a Justice League movie. 3 or 4. That's the thing. No, people have talked about this to death, but you have like 3. It is literally trying to be 3 or 4 things without establishing its own identity.
But I've heard that there is a official titled Man of Steel 2 coming. Did you hear that?
I've heard about that for a while.
Yeah, see what I'm more confusion.
And 12 Batman movies, Joker movies, I don't even know. That's just
I think
pick
they
a
need
direction.
to just have a definitive
plan.
Yeah, and come out and say it like, okay, this is one of the Comic-Con, San Diego, one of the huge ones. Have a definitive mission statement like, okay, guys, we're going to introduce this. This is our plan going forward with the DCEU. We're going to have side projects too, maybe within the universe, maybe from other worlds like Earth 2 story or whatever stories.
Sure.
Because that's how it is in the comics.
Alternate storyline, alternate universe, side. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they could say that. Like we want to bring
Vampire Batman. Sure, make a movie.
We want to.
On HBO, whatever.
We want to bring the whole DC experience to film.
All the craziness, just
exactly. So we're gonna have universe in canon, and we're gonna have
weird
other things that you may like.
And that would be cool. Like some up and coming directors, like you got a horror guy, give him the weird horror Justice League movie thing.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
Sure. And then the people that want to watch that will watch that, but they can still watch the main stuff.
Exactly. But without any definitive, I guess, plan, a lot of people are confused. So they're like, is this DCEU? Is it not? What's going on? There's 2 Joker movies? I don't understand. But
I bet they'll be scrapped in like a year.
Is Ben Affleck, is he Batman still or no? What's going on? Is it Jake Gyllenhaal? What's going on? Who's directing? He's not directing? Is he writing? He's not writing? It's a lot going on. But I don't know.
I don't either.
I'm trying to remain optimistic. Maybe that's why I held out to watch Justice League.
You knew.
Deep
down, you knew.
I don't think it was bad.
But it was
considering everything that
went into it.
Oh yeah, and around it with the whole thing with.
It could have been worse.
Yeah, with are you a fan of Joss Whedon?
Oh man, Joss Whedon. I mean, it's kind of funny, man. Until he did Avengers, I didn't really know him by name, but I've liked his work. I mean, Firefly I liked, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I didn't know that was him. Like, he's done some really good work. I like Joss Whedon.
Yeah, that's when I started from, actually, ironically, I never watched Buffy. I watched Angel, though.
Oh.
And I knew it was a spinoff.
Oh.
I just never watched.
Another good show. Well, if you ever get the chance, it's funny. Buffy was one of those shows that, when I was younger, I was resistant to it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But it's a really good show.
I have to watch it.
Yeah, and if you liked Angel, you'd like.
I did it in protest because it was nothing like. As a kid, I liked the movie.
Oh.
The movie was campy and funny,
you're the movie purist.
Yeah, it was campy and funny, and the show had, although I found out later, it had some humor in it, but it was not. The tone is not.
It is. It is a sequel. They still have like the tongue-in-cheek elements. Like it is kind of similar, but it's actually more serious too. Okay. Like it goes to a serious direction. It's really good, man. If you liked Angel, you definitely like Buffy.
Okay.
It's worth your time. It really is. It's fun.
Let's say I'm a fan. A lot of people sitting there they're not fans of Joss Whedon.
So maybe they don't like his like quirky humor with all the pop culture references. I like that.
I like it. I don't understand. I mean, I thought he did good. For what it was worth.
Look, he directed the Avengers, which kind of changed the game for like how blockbusters are these days. Right. So like the guy's done. He's got some talent.
Right.
It's like that's a big project for anybody to take on. And I mean, Ultron kind of broke him. All the frustrations of trying to keep everything together.
Yeah.
He kind of I think went like a hiatus or something right now. Yeah. He's not doing anything. But
yeah, because he was supposed to do that Gotham City Siren or the Batgirl movie, one of them.
Maybe.
But
he's like, I'm done with it for now.
Yeah, I'm not doing that either. So,
well, that's right. He did come in and work on the script for. He helped finish up Justice League.
Yeah.
He co-wrote it, co-directed it.
Co-wrote it, yep.
Because Zack Snyder
finished it up with Zack Snyder.
So technically, yeah, he probably helped. Hey, that's a step in the right direction. They literally said, "Don't emulate it. Call their guy and have him." And bless him.
I guess
he
to
helped out.
bring them more humor, because Zack, although I like Zack, but I feel like he's very serious.
And he's his own director, his own vision.
His tone.
He's resistant to apparently all the other things.
Yeah.
And I like Zack Snyder too. I don't think that Batman v Superman having the problems it did was entirely his fault. There's a lot of other factors at play to juggle.
Did we discuss the tone before?
Of
the DCEU, like the dark tone. Are you a fan of it? I don't think. Did we talk about that?
We talked a little bit about it. I mean, the weird thing is, it's like it wants to be darker and serious and gloomier, and even the visuals, that's always darkly lit and weird, ugly palettes.
Yeah.
I know it is, once again, trying to establish to be different. I hate that.
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty, that's why I liked Wonder Woman, because one of my biggest issues is a very basic one. Generally speaking, other than maybe Batman sometimes, and a couple other exceptions, generally superheroes are supposed to be fun, bright, colorful adventure.
Right.
You don't want to go into a superhero movie, have some escapist fun, and be miserable the whole time. I don't think so. And it's ugly to look at, even thematically and visually. So I'm not a fan for the most part. There are instances.
Justice League was pretty dark.
Yes.
Visually. It was pretty dark. Like, they brought more comedy, but it was still pretty dark.
Like, I want bright costumes. I want sunlight.
Even in Smallville, when they show Smallville.
Overcast.
Smallville part of the movie, not the show.
No, Smallville is actually a better representation, I think, of the fun comic book.
Yeah, because that show's brighter and it's funny and
light.
Yeah. But even the Smallville, even that part is dark because his mom's the house is foreclosed. The house is in foreclosure.
A house in foreclosure. She's gonna be out. Can't we just?
Really? Martha, she can't catch a break?
I thought that it was paid off.
That's what I thought.
I thought the Kent home has always been the Kent home.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Her husband's dead. Her son's dead, supposedly.
She's not Aunt May.
Yeah, right.
Although, I will be honest, you've seen the original Superman, right? From back in the day?
Yeah.
That was one of those little differences I did like, was when his father died. In that version, I didn't mind that because it was like that one moment of weakness. He's like, all my power, I couldn't save him.
Right.
I think Superman needs that sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know some people like Pa Kent to be alive, but I like that touch.
I agree.
But even so, though, I think she can be okay and have her house and
not
be fine. Can't Superman, I know he's obviously a truth and justice guy, but can he swing something, pull a couple of extra jobs to...
At least.
He's a report... Why is her house in foreclosure, actually?
Exactly.
Her son's Superman. Exactly. You know what? Biggest plot hole in that movie. Come on.
And I thought the CG mustache wasn't, or CG mustache removal wasn't, I didn't notice it.
I didn't either. I guess some people, if they really pay attention to it, look, it's one of those things, people want to harp on something. That was the least of that movie's problems.
Because I didn't notice it.
I didn't either. Maybe I thought, look, to CGI remove a mustache, I think is impressive enough.
Yeah.
Maybe he looked a little off. I didn't notice. I didn't notice either. Did you like the opening with Justice League with Superman being caught on the phone? The little social media thing? The kid's phone interview? How did you feel about that? I kind of liked it, but do you think it was kind of forced in there to make you, oh yeah, Superman is good. We're not angry at him. Remember when he died?
I could see that, yeah.
Maybe?
I think, yeah.
Maybe?
Did it feel like an afterthought? Is that why it looked... It did seem a little random, honestly.
Superman's... I could see it happening.
Yeah.
It seemed like a Superman...
If it was this day and age, yeah.
I could see Superman, talking to some kid on the phone. I don't know, but it seemed like it was just added in post so separately.
That's what I think, yeah. Like, it was an afterthought, okay, we'll throw this in there, and let you know that it's Superman. He's nice. He's a good guy.
He's nice. Kids liked him. Kids like Superman.
Nice.
Sad he's dead now. Remember? All right. I will tell you what though. Since you have seen it, wild guess. Can you guess my favorite moment in Justice League? It is an action sequence. I'll give you that hint. It made me laugh. In a good way. Not ironically.
Is it the Aquaman part when he's broing out and saying "Woo yeah"?
No. I think that's a little forced, personally. Though Jason Momoa does a good job. He's fine.
Right.
He's fine. It was when Superman's come back and he's not fully recovered, and everybody's like, "Oh no, we have to take him down," and Flash goes into his super
and he
speed mode.
turns
He's like, and then there's like just that his eyes move and he slowly turns and Flash is like, oh.
Yeah.
Like he's not as fast, but he's almost as fast.
That was a good touch.
I was like, oh gosh.
That was a good touch. While
great.
he's already blocking everyone else, he's still turning and look. That was a good touch. I like that.
That was awesome.
I see that there again. And
that the race at the end, I liked that. I wish the whole movie had been like that race between them.
Just brighter, because it still was in that same gray wash. But
yeah, exactly. Brighter, but also fun character. I don't know.
Speaking of that, I don't know if the directors told him to do that or he actually runs like that. Why was Ezra Miller running like that? His run was terrible.
It's terrible.
That's just a little.
The Flash doesn't run well.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like, if you should make sure that your run is pretty picturesque if they're going to be showing you a slow motion running.
True.
He was kind of like flailing around. That's just a small pet.
Maybe that was supposed to be his kind of overly energetic, quirky personality.
Maybe his form gets better. Maybe.
Yes, because he's still a new superhero.
Yeah.
He has to improve.
Because he just pushes people and runs away. Before, now he actually fought.
I'll tell you what, I liked all the individual heroes, although I have to ask you this due to your moniker, but being a big Cyborg fan, one of my big issues with it was I thought that they put a lot of detail into the CGI for Steppenwolf. I thought he actually looked fairly impressive.
Yeah, he did.
But Cyborg looks half finished. Like, he looks terrible.
There were parts that, he kind of looked too pixelated, like about the chest area. Mm-hmm. His torso kind of looked, I didn't like that. His torso, he went in too much. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not that
nimble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's
He's a big blocky.
Yeah, like statuesque. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they rectified it. I guess maybe they were trying to rectify it at the end with the little montage where he's like upgrading and his suit is changing to the suit that looks like what we know.
Well, look, that's another example, and I mean, I'm kind of old school in supporting old school special effects. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's more expensive, but honestly, get the guy in a real metal suit and it'll look better than the CGI.
Yeah.
You know?
As long as it's not the suit from Steel that they use with Shaq.
No,
because that looked terrible.
I think the costuming they can afford to do better than that. Although that was, once again DC produced. They made Steel, so
yeah.
Dark times, dark times for DC. So you know what? Actually, it's been worse. It's been worse. But worse. By today's standards, yeah.
And I will say, if we're comparing movies that we know have been switched around at the last minute, a bunch of reshoots, it was still better than Suicide Squad. I would say Suicide Squad has some very visible cuts and
Suicide Squad. I agree, very disjointed.
Yeah,
I think it's entertaining, but not for the right reasons. As a more uniform story, Justice League is kind of bland, but it does feel like one movie, one story. It feels like an actual thing,
right?
Which I will say is an improvement over even Batman v Superman. Now, there are a lot of cool things I liked about the movie, but 20 different things going on.
Exactly.
That's...
Now, I thought about this too.
Uh-huh.
Do you think part of the reason, well, maybe not, because I don't think they thought that far ahead, but do you think if DC thought ahead, would they still roll out with the same plan with Avengers, because if you think about it, it's essentially the same plot of MCU.
Yeah.
If you replace the Infinity Stones with mother boxes.
Yeah, with mother boxes.
It's exactly
the same plot.
Yeah, like if you sprinkle it through movies, and these mother boxes are everywhere.
Open the portal. Alien army comes through.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Well, Joss Whedon did write some of it, so yeah. Well, look, when it comes to big superhero threats that force people to team up, it's kind of usually the same sort of thing.
Right.
So, look, I'll cut them some slack there. That's pretty standard for the first movie,
That you have that. And yeah, that's why I didn't mind Steppenwolf. A lot of people said he was...
Well, the difference is, in this case, he's a different villain than Loki. But then again, Loki is someone that we knew from another movie working for someone else.
Yeah.
So once again, we had more development, more connection,
to him,
more investment. With Steppenwolf, he's all right, but like I told you, he's kind of dark side light.
Yeah, he's no dark side.
He's not dark side. And then I wonder, the expectation for dark side's higher now, because he's very similar.
Yeah.
Except he's more powerful. How are you going to make him more interesting?
Will they even do that? Because there's more conflicting arguments that the DCEU...
And very similar ideas to the new Thanos, who was essentially a rip-off of Darkseid.
That's
But
the
now
thing.
like,
Can they do that now? Because
Darkseid's a rip-off of Thanos. Actually, no, he is a rip-off of Darkseid, but now it's too late because everyone else has watched the movies. But yeah, very similar. It's going to be the same boxes checked off, and it won't be as impressive. The standard's too high. That's why I think they should follow the same formula
at this point.
But they should try to take more risks with their movies. One thing I don't really like about the Marvel movies is, and I know this is kind of a byproduct of comic books as a medium, but up until maybe Infinity War, there weren't really any stakes. Nobody ever died. Nobody really ever had any everlasting conflicts that had major consequences. Like Civil War should have probably had a movie or two more of getting over it, but we didn't have time. Things this big thing, which is really just a fight.
And then every now and then they still mention the Sokovia Accords and let you know, that was a part of it.
But does anybody care? They're all buddies. Half of them, and by the end of the movie, Cap and Iron Man are kind of okay. I think there was some wasted potential there. I think if DC doesn't necessarily have to always be darker, but I think if they want to take themselves more seriously in their storylines, despite how silly they are, maybe have some more consequences.
Yeah.
Because look. That's the one weird thing about DC is there's 4 versions of the Flash or Green Lantern. Someone could die and you could bring in a new character.
That's true.
Maybe you could play with it a little more since it's a little more flexible. I mean, and like we said, if you can make a ton of different movies, you can have a bunch of smaller movies to be weird and take risks and do the really kooky stuff that Marvel definitely has touched on that with things like Guardians and Ant-Man. They have, but even those movies, they're not as weird as comics can get. Why not DC just get to the really silly stuff, the bizarre stuff? Why not? At this point, they don't have much to lose, I think.
And it may end up being a hit. You never know.
You never do.
I mean, people didn't think... I'll tell you, I didn't think Ant-Man would be good, but or that they would even make an Ant-Man movie. But now it's to the point where Marvel can put out anything they want.
Yes, because their brand is that good.
Same thing with Guardians. And that's did way better than Ant-Man. So
yeah, absolutely. Guardians 1 and 2, fantastic movies. I know you did get a chance to see Ant-Man, and I guess kind of as a segue into that briefly, you wanted to talk a bit about issues with the quantum realm and.
Yeah, because I've been seeing reports that a lot of people take issue with the lack of explanation of the quantum realm, and I know me. Yes, I saw that there was a lot of vagueness going on, and they just explained it away oh, it's the quantum realm. We really don't know what's going on. Or yes, this happens. Or when Hank, spoilers again.
Oh, spoilers.
When Hank Pym, when he meets his wife again, and she settles his mind because he goes a little crazy down there. And she settles his mind with her new healing powers or whatever that is.
Yeah. And
he asks her, how did you do this? She just says, adaptation and evolution. Okay. It's explaining it, but it's still very vague. yes, that is there, but I feel like if they went into detail, that would be a whole, like, they would need another movie to kind of go into the real of that.
Which, spoilers, based on the ending of Ant-Man, could be potential
Could
for
be.
the third movie.
It could be. So who knows? Yeah, maybe that was the point. Maybe they wanted to be vague if they knew that it was kind of going this way.
Maybe.
Because like we said, Marvel does have more foresight within their projects.
Yes, they're planning a couple movies ahead at least.
Yeah.
Which is cool. As far as, the quantum realm, like if it was vague in this movie, I didn't really care because, sci-fi, superhero stuff, there's got to be weird stuff like, really like, for instance, the Infinity Stones. How much do we need to know about them? How they work?
Yeah.
We get the basics, that they're the super magical, powerful jewels, elements of the universe.
And I feel like a lot of people, everything doesn't have to be explained. Like, yes, it's vague, yes, but you're not going to get exposition on everything. And then when movies do that, people are mad at that. Like, there's too much exposition and treating the audience like they're idiots.
Sometimes it's hard to please people.
You can't please everybody. Like, some people had issue with the possession part where she took over Scott's body.
I liked that.
It was funny to me. Like, and they set it up. If she could take over his dreams, then why couldn't she just take over him? It's possible if they're doing that. It's setting up the.
Well, and maybe it's sometimes you wonder how much is planned and how much is just taking an opportunity. Like, we knew that she went to the quantum realm originally to stop that bomb. He goes in there, finds a way out, and just kind of brings that hint. Like, maybe we'll use that as a way to introduce the old boss.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but probably some foresight. Either way, I thought it worked pretty well. I just kind of wish that they had devoted a little more time to certain things. Like we said with the villain.
Right.
Like, her motivation, I don't know.
I feel like they didn't know what they wanted to do with her. Like, at first they made her a villain, then she went into like a sympathetic anti-hero. But then it's vague because we don't see her again. So is she good or is she an anti-hero?
Well, she's with them at like the end, I think.
Right.
So I guess they're buddies now, and she'll be a member of the Ant-Man team.
Which is totally.
Which it feels like a waste of a good movie plot. Like I think if that's one thing he needs is villains. Like, how'd you feel about Walton Goggins and his like black market like sub villains that just wouldn't give up? Like, they're so out of their league. I thought that was funny, but
it was funny for the movie. I think they needed that. Because as Ant-Man, you have to have that level of comedy at this point, I guess, with these movies.
Yeah.
And Ghost, there is no
comedy
with that story. It's like, we need something. We need a little hijinks here.
I got something for you.
So then they bring that.
Something I didn't mention, actually. One thing that kind of bugged me, I know that everybody wants to be in a Marvel movie and it's cool, but you want to talk about a waste of like a pointless character that did not need to be in the movie? It was Lawrence Fishburne. Morbius himself.
What?
Introduced him. Interesting. Who's he gonna be? And then it's like, plot twist. He's a bad guy. He literally didn't do anything. He doesn't need to be in the movie.
No,
completely
honestly, at all. Because they just did that so he could say, "Oh yeah, I was Goliath," which really was actually Hank Pym in the comics. But
very good.
But they just put that in there to say, "Oh, Goliath, okay."
He was the other guy. No. Like, I get it, it's cool, but like, if you're gonna have that actor in there, give him more to do, make it, because literally he didn't need to be there.
No.
She could have had her whole storyline and more time devoted to her, those scenes.
That she did that herself, whatever, because they made it seem like he was the one that
saved her
and built the suit and the little cube
they
she
didn't
was staying in. She did it, or S.H.I.E.L.D. did it.
S.H.I.E.L.D. did it, and she killed them and took it away. Like,
right.
It takes away from her, because even though I do like him, he didn't have anything to do in the movie.
Or they made it just so he could be the voice of reason for her. Because towards the end, like, she's the one that's saying, like, no, I don't care, I'm doing this because I'm fading away. And he's like, no, we can find another way. I think just so he could be that character to say that, like...
But they could have done that without having a literal voice of reason character. Like, shown she was conflicted, maybe. Or just made her, like, a crazy...
Yeah, they could have just had her hesitate.
A little, like, before she tries to kill somebody, like... Show she's conflicted. Like, her backstory is sympathetic enough.
Yeah.
But I think that she was depowered, underused. I mean, like I said, not a major gripe, but those were my biggest issues with it. It's like there were some things they could have done a little better.
Because Ghost is he's pretty good, like the comic Ghost. and with a very interesting backstory.
Mm-hmm.
And it lended itself easy to be transferable because you could say instead of Stark Industries, because he's an Iron Man villain, Stark Industries, he worked for Pym Industries and do the same thing because it's essentially they pretty much do the same type of work.
Well, yeah. Once again, it's that classic argument. Ant-Man is basically Iron Man.
Yeah,
it's very very similar movies, but yeah, that works. Another evil technological fiend goes off on a haywire.
So do you think that's why they didn't do it? Because it would kind of be like same route as Yellow Jacket?
Yeah, they wanted to be a little different, but once again, commit to being different. You know,
yeah.
Make her. She was interesting, but kind of a little wasted. Like upon rewatches, how much Like because no villains, just a lot of hindrances.
It's kind of like she kind of gets lost because she's not strong enough of a villain that you evoke the traditional emotions of a villain where you hate them so much that they're memorable, or you don't agree with them but they're sympathetic to their cause. She's not that good of a villain, but yet you don't believe her as an anti-hero as they try to switch her around towards the end.
Not enough time.
So she just becomes like, okay.
Superfluous.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. The main plot is to get the Wasp's mom back.
Right.
That's the main plot of the movie. You've got Ant-Man still trying to be on house arrest and be good and undercover. You've got his friends and their subplot with trying to get the business started.
Yeah.
You've got...
Which is still funny, by the way. If you like the first movie, that was still fun. And they even did the way he tells stories with
that was good.
Hilarious.
And let's see, black market guys going after them for the technology. You got Ghost storyline. You've got Hank Pym's issues still with his daughter, which is, I guess, kind of related. He gets more to do.
Yeah.
But
and Scott's issues with Hope.
With Hope, with his
because
daughter.
you could tell that there was something there by the end of Ant-Man 1.
Romance.
And then it's kind of like not there now, but they make it seem like it was on the way there, but something happened, but they don't go into that at all.
And of course, his relationship with his daughter, they're trying to keep that, which was good. That was probably one of the stronger
I like her.
Yeah, she's a good young actress. Yeah, they've got good chemistry.
But did you hear that potentially the third one, the theories that she's going to be aged.
Oh.
They're going to age her to be teenage.
Oh.
And so she can help her dad escape the quantum realm somehow.
You know what would be more interesting, actually, would be to see her, like, still be kind of a kid, not advanced age and try.
Right.
Might be more interesting, actually.
Right.
I don't know how I feel about that.
You know what I think? They should have fleshed out something with the villain, with Ghost maybe, or maybe another villain. I don't really know Ant-Man's villains. I'm not too...
I'll be honest, neither do I. I was never a big Ant-Man
I'm not versed on the comics. I just knew of him and what he could do, that's it.
To be honest, he's usually just a member of the Avengers, kind of works with their
he doesn't really
selection.
Have any of his own.
Not too many.
Yeah. So maybe they could have fleshed out a specific villain for this movie and sprinkle maybe the things within this quantum realm thing throughout this movie. And then the quantum realm thing, getting Janet Van Dyne back, is Ant-Man 3. That's what that movie's about.
I like that.
Because towards the end, you can say, basically, be the beginning. The beginning of this one started where he's talking to Hope, and when Scott said, and he came back, and I just knew maybe your mom's alive. That could be the end of this one. They could have made it like what was that, Iron Man 3? Because that was after Avengers 1, right?
Yes.
When Tony's having these recurrent nightmares of what happened in Avengers 1. Something like that, where in this movie, Scott keeps having what he thinks is flashbacks of him
Vision,
in the quantum realm, but then towards the end of the second one, or maybe in the third one, Hank says, I don't think those were dreams. I don't think those were flashbacks. I think you're having visions. I think Janet's alive. Set up the third one.
Once again, even that, I feel like there could have been more focus on getting her back.
Right.
All the stories were undercut, basically. But yeah, I still liked it, though.
It's enjoyable.
It's entertaining.
Because when Ant-Man it's not going to be as heavy as the main
movies.
MCU movies.
Yeah.
You're getting comedy, you're getting action. That's what they delivered. So hence, bring it full circle, why I didn't feel too peeved about the vagueness of the quantum realm.
Yeah, because it's a minor nitpick in the grand scheme, because it's a fun comic book movie.
And I think they even know, because they mentioned they were tongue-in-cheek.
Just put quantum in front of it?
Exactly. I was
so
just
they know.
They know.
It's just
because I was thinking that something like they say quantum a lot, like quantum entanglement and quantum realm, and you know we're going into the quantum. This they're just saying quantum a lot, and then that was around the time when he said that in the movie. Just put quantum in front of everything. And you know and I like the fight scenes and everything. I think it was fun. Those powers, they just lend a lot of fun stuff. The giant Pez dispenser and salt shakers and, you know, Wasp running around in the kitchen.
The building. Suitcase building.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool.
The
Yeah,
Hot Wheel cars. And
yeah. The whole, you know, changing size, shrinking, you know, growing thing. Like, there's a lot of fun visual comedy for sure. And action.
Even that was funny, where he's super big and he's like getting tired and he's talking about orange slices and taking a nap. I like that.
Yeah.
So that's why maybe, I don't know. I think maybe they have to adjust their
perceptions.
Yeah,
expectations.
Because movie to movie, like yes, you know what to expect MCU to DCEU, but within that, there's different tones. Because Ant-Man is not like Guardians.
No.
Guardians is not like Iron Man. Iron Man's not like Cap. Cap's not like Black Panther. Like, they're all different.
True. They all have their own identities.
Yeah. So, maybe that's another problem with the DCEU. I feel like there's not enough identity. They're all dark and gloomy.
Except for Wonder Woman, kind of?
That's it. And maybe that's why I stood out so much. Because you notice, like, oh, this is not like the rest of them.
Something is not like the other.
Yeah, so
yeah,
that's another. See, more stuff comes out as we dissect this issue.
This issue, which
I just wish I was in some of these board meetings. Cause I'm like, well, where are you going with this? Like, what's going on?
I know, and I have been saying it for a while because it's sad because I feel like the issues that have plagued the comics have just been kind of seeping into the movies.
Yeah. And
except at least you have stuff being made, so that's true. Well, I had like a couple brief things. Do you like RoboCop?
I do.
RoboCop is one of my favorite movies.
I do.
Did you ever see the RoboCop 2014 remake?
The remake, yes, I did.
It's one of my least favorite movies. It's an insult. But to make a long story short, I found out today from some sources that apparently the guy Neil Blomkamp who did District 9, Jabby, Lisa, he is going to be directing a RoboCop film. But I hear it is going to be a sequel to the '87 film. And when I heard that, I honestly thought I'm okay with this, but only if they get Peter Weller back. But someone else.
They would do that though. Peter Weller's old now.
Yeah, but I thought about that. But I remember seeing him in Star Trek Into Darkness, and he was good in that. And I was thinking, the thing about Alex Murphy is he is mostly covered. Like really,
yeah,
you only
that's true. You just see his
bottom
of it. Yeah.
So technically, the skin could age. You know, that's all that's really left. Remember, is just the face, and like a couple little things. So maybe that could age. Maybe they could CGI a little around it if it takes place like 30 years after the original film or whatever. He doesn't have to do much of the stunt work. He moves like this in the old one. Like it's not. I mean, maybe it'd be too heavy for him, but like he could voice it. Like I just feel like that. I mean, I would be curious to see what that would be like if it was a direct sequel, like where they could go. But do you think they should make it, or should that stay? Because RoboCop sequels haven't had the best of luck. I mean, they've not really been that great.
I like RoboCop 2.
RoboCop 2 is, yeah, I like it too. It's not as good as the first, but it's still a decent.
3
The jetpack, yeah. PG-13, at the beginning of that problem.
Yeah, that lost me.
You're pondering. You don't know what to think of this, do you?
I do like. You know what? I like that director. I like his style. Seems like it lends itself
robots,
future, to translate well to
ugly,
RoboCop.
Gritty, kind of super violent. Like he would be a decent fit.
Because I mean, Elysium is pretty much Yeah. I mean, it's like a robo skeleton on his back.
Yeah.
So I feel like that would translate well. The thing is making it
a direct sequel.
Yeah, to the originals. I mean, and I get that you don't want to make
the mistake.
Yeah, with the Samuel L. Jackson narration in between the movie.
If you ever when that movie came out, like I rarely ever like do angry rants about whole movies, but I think immediately after seeing that, it must have been like a half an hour just straight rant about everything. Because literally, RoboCop is one of my favorite films, and that reboot was a bastardization on someone. Not saying that there weren't some good things about it.
They didn't keep anything aside from the fact that you just see his face, and the rest is robot. Other than that, they didn't keep. And even the way that he dies.
The explosion was so cheesy. Like, he should be dead. There shouldn't be anything left at all.
Did they not want to do the shotgun thing again?
Well, it was PG-13. They couldn't do something that bloody.
That's right.
That was the big problem. There's a lot of things they just couldn't do.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to make it more marketable. But that is exactly how I feel about it.
That's why it's a one and done. I only saw it once, and that's what I remember. And I remember he's black instead of the gray.
Because black is cooler, they said, or something.
They kind of nodded that, and they changed it.
It's probably easier to animate or something.
Probably
something like that.
Oh, and the gun is actually in his hip. That's they kept that from the original.
And do you remember? It was a minor nitpick, but they kept this in one hand.
Yeah, they kept it. That was weird too.
But anyway, that yes. But do you think so? You're a bit nervous about it.
So when they say sequel, is this directly after RoboCop 1, or are they including 2 and 3?
I admit I don't know many details. I heard it's the one thing I saw, it is like a direct sequel to the '87 film. So maybe it'll be like Superman Returns, where they don't acknowledge Superman 3 and 4, they won't acknowledge 2 and 3.
Right.
Or
maybe seems to be a theme with the new Halloween movie.
Or the Jurassic Parks. Oh, only the first movie happened, which doesn't really make sense either.
Yeah, is that a new theme in Hollywood?
Just
We're
like
making sequels,
ignore the sequels.
Ignoring the past 20 years of movies that may have came out. This is directly after the first one or the second one.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So that's what I've heard they might skip, which I guess you could argue there wasn't really too... Well, I don't know. RoboCop 2 I think they want to keep because that's very important to him, like, when he tries to go and reconnect with his family and can't.
Right.
So
he goes and visits him and he's...
Would that mean that it's like they would go like a really depressing route, like he's like lost everything, or would he be okay with it? Like, I worry because RoboCop definitely had some dark... It was serious, but it was also like satirical, and it was kind of commenting the 80s and the excess and all that.
Yeah.
But if they applied it...
the future, so they did it like times 10 or 100.
But I mean, they could make arguments about today. Maybe it is kind of really become that. I'm sure.
Much.
So, I don't know. That balance of satire, but with like a really good human story, is I think what makes RoboCop such a fantastic film, and combined with just the action that doesn't care, the bloody just it just doesn't care, unapologetic.
Do you know, is this one going to be PG-13 or no?
I don't.
That will greatly.
I don't think so. That was the big thing. Everyone was so mad about that. I can't believe that. Although, segueing a little bit, do you know about the new Star Trek movie?
No.
Because this is kind of connected. We don't have to dwell on it too much, but I'm really excited for the next Star Trek movie because the Abrams movies I think are like okay, but they're not really Star Trek. I mean,
they're kind of. It's like Abrams' interpretation of.
It's
the
more
original Star Trek,
amped up, more fun, but it's not quite as smart. But Quentin Tarantino is a big Star Trek fan, and he's going to direct a Star Trek movie in the universe, R-rated.
Are you serious?
An R-rated Star Trek. Not lying. He's never done sci-fi, and he's going to do stuff. Isn't that kind of awesome? You don't even know what to think.
Yeah, I want to see it. I gotta see Quentin Tarantino's interpretation of Star Trek.
I'm just picturing like the Starfleet with F-bombs and like aliens explosion, naked alien women. Like,
what is
it? Like,
it's like somebody had like
blender.
And pulled it out like, okay, you have 2 hats here with a bunch of folded paper. Like, okay,
Tarantino,
director Tarantino,
property.
Star Trek. Let's do this.
So yeah,
I'm intrigued.
See, and that's got me excited. I think that one's still early development, but that one it's continuing the theme. I mean, that at least is taking something new that's kind of rebooted anyway. That's changing its own identity.
Right.
But RoboCop being a direct sequel to the movie.
I'm interested in the fact of who you said. Had you not told me the director, I probably would be like,
but the director's
leave it alone.
Decent choice.
But because of his prior work, it kind of lends itself to that. It would easily translate. Like his vision from what I've seen from his prior movies, he has the vision that could do that.
You could see that being like New Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
You could just see it.
I could see that. So so that intrigues me enough that I would like to, and because I watch movies, I would probably see it anyway, so I saw the rest of them.
Someone made a joke on as a reaction to the article. It was like, well, let's take a guess. Instead of Detroit, it's going to be in Cape Town, and Die Antwoord will be in it. Like, probably maybe.
Hey, you never know.
You never know. Like Max Payne 3, where they put him somewhere completely different.
Yeah,
that was weird. Max Payne was always weird. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about that. I guess to wrap it up here, because I know you're kind of an anime guy, and like I found out about this, and I'm gonna put a separate video up probably before, because like as you may have picked up, I'm kind of frustrated by like how safe everybody tries to play it when they're trying to please the fans. Like, give the fans what you want, but like still try to take some risks, have a good story. I recommend, you haven't seen the Dragon Ball Super films, right?
No.
I recommend you should, but this isn't really a spoiler. You know Frieza comes back, which I was kind of cool with, but at the same time I'm like, wow, the big return movie after Battle of Gods is Frieza comes back. I enjoyed it, but not the most original thing you could do with the story. There's plenty of things to do. Dragon Ball could expand. The third movie, they're going to have what villain come back? Broly. I hate Broly. Now, I will say this. I think the first Broly movie, for what it was, is actually pretty decent. For like a spin-off, it had a decent story, some Saiyan backstory. Paragus, his dad, underrated villain. You know, about as good writing as those movies get, because usually they're so condensed anyway.
Right.
But whatever. Like the movie, besides the title, there was some mystery. Who could something, like there was something to it. I kind of like that. But the fandom has just blown him up to the most shallow thing, because that's the one thing about the fandom I don't like is, see, you don't probably know much about this from my perspective, but in the short, I know Dragon Ball's about the fights and the big explosions and the ridiculous stuff, but I like the characters, I like the world, the story, I like that stuff. I think that Broly is a representation of the stereotype of what people have about Dragon Ball Z, is it's all about the big beefy, horrible, screaming guy. He's a guy, at least Frieza has a personality. He's got some... Can you see where I'm coming from?
That's, because he's just the typical big bad angry guy.
So what?
Super strong. Yeah. I agree, because if anything, when you asked me I thought you were going to say Cell.
And that's what I wanted, because Cell is awesome. And
I thought they would bring Cell back. If they bringing Frieza back, like, to me, I thought that their most popular villains was Frieza and Cell.
Definitely.
So, if Frieza's already back, I figured it'd be Cell. But
no.
Broly, I wasn't expecting that. And Broly's not my favorite villain either.
Why is that? Is it just the same thing, or is there something else?
I think, you know what, honestly, I think I liked him in the beginning, but as the story went on, with me watching Dragon Ball Z and everything, they went more in depth with their villains. Like you said, Frieza has more of a personality, and then you get to the Cell saga with even 16, 17, 18, and then getting to Cell. Like it gets more complex, and I grew to like that more than just a big strong dude. So do you think, what if they did that? What if they kind of switched, like maybe if they gave him a personality? Would you like it?
That's the only thing I could think is, because I think the movies have actually been pretty well written. They have been pretty good. They've had solid plots, better than a lot of the anime, to be honest, right now. But if they actually gave him a personality, more going on, more of a story around him than just
maybe something like Vegeta, because when Vegeta first came, he was just
angry.
I want to fight Kakarot. But then over time, you get to know him, and then he became a lot of people's favorite character.
Yeah, is he your favorite character?
He is one, because actually they ended up giving him more personality than Goku.
Yeah, and if you get caught up on Super, one of the issues that's been coming up is Vegeta's come full circle. He's not really this villain that wants to even necessarily be the best, and towards the end of Z, he had that ownership. Like he knows, no matter how far he pushes himself, he accepts that Goku will always be better. Let's go his pride, his anger, and becomes okay with just being a normal guy with a family. And that's how he is in the new show, the new movies. Is he's kind of just he has that, but then they kind of switch it around and say, oh, he wants to compete with Goku again. And Goku, if you watch it, you'd think he'd learn. He starts endangering everybody. All right, I'll just tell you.
Okay.
There gets to be a point where there's a couple tournament arcs, another original thing. More tournaments. A tournament where the consequences is all these people will die completely and wiped from the face. No Dragon Balls to go.
Oh.
And Goku's like, yeah, let's hold the tournament. I know there has to be a plot point, but you don't make the guy, choose to... Stuff like that.
Yeah.
It seems like they don't know where to go with Goku because he's so iconic. And that's an issue I've been running into is, he did grow. He did kind of learn. But now it's just what... He comes off being kind of like a jerk because of
it. Yeah.
And Vegeta, I think, has more development. But it's interesting you say that because... Some people don't really like that he's changed like that because he was so iconic being the angry guy with that rivalry.
Over 9,000.
It's over 9,000. He's not that guy anymore. He's not that enraged. So, I don't know.
I like the development. I'm all about character development. If you couldn't tell, the theme throughout this whole podcast.
It's about
developing characters, and because with that you learn more about these characters and you basically get invested.
Yes.
And that's how you start to like people. So you can even like a villain because if you're invested and you can see where they're coming from, like Killmonger.
Relatable.
Yeah. You can see where he's coming from. Even if you don't agree with his methods, you can see where he's coming from, and that creates a overall stronger character. It creates emotion, whether you like him or hate him. Love him or hate him, it creates emotion. If you're just indifferent, like Ghost, then it's
And I guess some character like Broly, there isn't really much to know.
Right. He's just one of the regular big bad strong guys. So it's a movie, okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you're right, man. I think that is a good point. You want to develop your characters to make you care more about the story.
Exactly.
And I don't know, man. I think that was a good way to close it out. Unless there's any final thoughts you have about anything.
No, I'm just
hoping for.
Still hope. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic with the DCEU. Maybe they'll get it together. Somebody, please. Because at the end of the day, I may lean a little more towards DC, but I'm a fan of comics and superheroes. I just like the best of what they can do.
Well, look, I'm gonna go out and see them. I'm always gonna say I've given up, but I haven't gotten to the point yet where I'm just gonna stop seeing them because I like movies.
I'm still gonna watch regardless.
So those ones for sure. Is it Suicide Squad 2 you said that's next?
After this, I think Aquaman, and then Wonder Woman 2. That's the next ones. Everything else, from what I know, is
next year.
Just like in development stages. I don't.
Yeah, too many things in development.
Yeah.
Pick which Batman you want to do. I hope Batfleck stays for at least one more movie.
At least one more. I would like to see
that Batman, Affleck directed movie.
I would like to,
because he's a big comic book fan, big Batman fan. He cares, and he's a good director.
And I had a feeling they may would have went the Arkham route, like the Arkham game series, which would have been nice.
Those, if you want to talk about some of the best stories outside of the comics, Arkham games, Arkham City, I love that. Yeah. The story alone had me hooked.
Yeah. And they had so many. That's why I'm upset, because DC does have although they do have those offshoot kind of crazy moments. Yeah, they have some incredible stories too.
Yeah.
Under the Red Hood is probably one of my favorite Batman stories.
That's a good one. Did you prefer the movie or the comic?
The comic, but that animated movie was pretty good.
Yeah.
They stayed true as much as they could. You know, they always change things up. They didn't do like they did with the Killing Joke. I don't know.
Oh, don't get me started. The Killing. Oh, you mean the Batgirl movie featuring the Killing Joke? That was.
It's like this. Okay, we'll do the Killing Joke. Really, we only have a half hour worth of footage. Dude. Okay, let's add a whole
Because it's a very short story.
Yeah.
And then let's try to fix the Batgirl problem by making it worse, dude. That whole. I could go off, but not the whole rooftop thing with the sex thing.
Oh my goodness!
So many problems.
It was awkward.
Right there, awkward. And then I'm like, no.
I literally was looking at my screen like, are we doing this? Are we doing this? They're doing this. What is going on?
That is like essentially his daughter, first of all.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, maybe it's been hinted at in certain versions, but the way he there was nothing to it. He didn't seem to acknowledge it. He came off looking like an a-hole after that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Like
after that, it was like whatever.
Whatever. Like that's. And no.
And he never expressed any type
after what
of...
happened. Like he should, with the Killing Joke, that he should have been like more affected. Anyway.
Yeah.
The point is, DC has good stories, but they need to commit some more. Sometimes.
Yes.
Oh man.
They have it in them. Come on.
There's like 70 plus years of comics that show this.
If need be, get some of the. But see, I thought it would happen with Jeff Johns coming over, but he's not even over anymore.
No.
I thought it would work, but I think that's Warner Brothers. That's another problem. Warner Brothers, I think, is too involved.
Too many hands in the pot.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Gotta just, if it works, it works. Let it work.
That's another one of the keys. Yeah. Marvel Studios is literally the people at the property, people that like wrote the comics, work on these movies.
Exactly.
They're moving to the movies. It's
like if Disney was trying to control what they put out.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Exactly. Which some people argue they do, but I think they've mostly been hands on.
Yeah. I mean,
in terms of,
they can't let it get too far because it is Disney.
It's like,
so.
I can't go R-rated too much.
Yeah, we can't do any of that. But yeah, they, for the most part, they stay out because they know what works. If it's working, okay.
We don't have to step in.
Yeah.
Disney does not seem to micromanage.
Right, that's the problem. Warner Brothers, he's up on the reins a little bit.
I agree. You know what? That'll be the final line. He's up on the reins.
He's up on the reins.
Well, sir, thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Of course.
And I have a feeling you might be back again.
Might be. We always, get me started. We get talking about comics and movies.
Yeah, I know. Actually, we don't even need to look at the time. Okay, is it better than last time? All right. It's not as bad.
Slightly better.
A little better. Brief podcast is like an hour.
Yeah,
No, that's good, man. It's good. It's good content for sure. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming over.
Well, of course. Anytime.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody. Stay magical.